Good afternoon, Rotarians. This is Mike Vogus. I am pleased to be your host today with our new president, Jason Piasecki. Jason, if you'd be kind enough, tell us a little about yourself.
Yeah, well, I've been married to my wife, Tracy, for 22 years. We live in Norton Shores with our 3 children, Emma and Grace, who are going into their second year at Grand Valley, and my son, Aaron, who will be a senior at Mona Shores. I'm a graduate of Mona Shores High School and went on to Central Michigan University, where I earned degrees in marketing and graphic design. Played a little bit of baseball in junior college, and today I am a partner at Revel, which is a marketing agency here in Muskegon.
Well, you've been a partner and friend of mine for a long time, and you hosted Inside Muskegon, the podcast from 2005 to 2008. How did that lead you to Muskegon Rotary?
Well, it really helped me develop my love of Muskegon, and I learned that our community has so many great stories, and many of these people that I had interviewed for the Inside Muskegon podcast were Rotarians, folks like Cindy Larson, Dave Alexander, Bill Locksterman, even talked to Larry Wright, our then president, about Rotary, David McIntyre a couple times about Grape Escape, Gary Ostrom, and it was really just a who's of people in Muskegon that were the guests on that show. And so many of them were Rotarians that I had to find out more about the club. And that's really what got me interested in joining back in 2005.
Would you be kind enough to share some of the memories from Muskegon Rotary projects or committees that you have served on?
Yeah, I think, one of the first ones was Grape Escape. When I was doing those interviews with David, he told me about something that I didn't know was happening, that there was this great fundraiser in our community. And so that was one of my first forays into Rotary, as just a general person in the community. And that really got me interested. So I've been a participant and a consumer at Grape Escape every year since then. And we always bring a group of people and try to introduce some new folks to the event. Also involved in Rotary Park and had chaired the website committee when we had one of those before it went under PR. And one of my favorite memories of Rotary is serving alongside Bill Johansson, and I was his pinch hitter for the rim when he couldn't put an addition together. So I learned a lot working with Bill on that, and it's just a great way to find out all the ins and outs of our club meeting.
Well, why don't you tell us a little bit about some of the projects you've done in the community in addition to Rotary?
Yeah, well, I served for 7 years on the board of the Muskegon YMCA, and the last year was as the chief volunteer officer, which is the chair of the board. And that was a perfect marriage with my Rotary service, since Rotary and the Y collaborate on Seaway Run, which just happened last weekend. And also along that time with the Y, got involved with the Friends of Pendaluan, helping out Camp Pendaluan, and just continuing to keep that great facility going and thriving. Also, I served on the boards of the Muskegon Chamber, the United Way, even did a very brief stint on the MAISD board, as well as the Mercy Health Development Council to help with some of their fundraising. One fun thing, if you're a longstanding Muskegon person, you know about Summer Celebration. And I saw a great post on Facebook yesterday from Tim Lipan saying this would be the start of that 11-day event this time of the year. And I had served on the task force that the community put together to see what would be the future of Summer Celebration at the time, as well as the last thing I just want to mention that's very near and dear to my heart is the Muskegon Channel Cats. I was the chair of the board for the Channel Cats and president for 7 years, and that was something my dad started up in the late 90s, and I carried on when my son was old enough to start playing baseball. So, I love being involved in the community, and Rotary is one of those things that you kind of get the bug, and it spreads to other things that you can get involved with.
Well, as long as you're talking about the bug, why do you want to serve as the president of Rotary?
Well, the first thing is Rotary. I've always thought of is the board of boards. These are the community leaders and folks that are involved in Rotary. They're in the know. So when I was asked first to serve on the board a few years back, I was a little intimidated. I didn't know if I belonged with this group of people. And the one thing about Rotary, and it's from my very first meeting when I got involved, is Rotary is a welcoming group. And the way that I got into Rotary was even a little bit by accident. I found a Rotary directory. This is back in 2005, and I just started going through it, and I came across a name that I recognized, and it was Tim Taylor. And I graduated high school with Tim. He is president of the Muskegon Lumberjacks, the Muskegon Fury. He's always been involved in hockey. And I looked it up. This is when the directory didn't have any pictures. And the name, I had an email address, and he was at Huntington Bank. And I'm like, I haven't seen Tim for a while, but I didn't know he was at Huntington Bank. So I shot off an email and said, hey, Tim, how's it going? This is Jason Piasecki, and just interested about learning more about Rotary. And he said, well, thanks for the email, but I am not the Tim Taylor that you are thinking of. I found out that this Tim Taylor had been in banking for 30 years, was getting close to retiring. And he said, well, I'm not going to stop that from inviting you to be my guest at Rotary. So I went as his guest for several weeks, and eventually was invited to join the club. And I really, even though I came in kind of through the side door, it's been something that's been really a big part of my life ever since the last 15, 16 years. And so when I was asked to serve as president, I was honored. I really, when you get that call, it was from Kathy Moore, who was the then president. I was overwhelmed. I did not see it coming. And so I took some time to contemplate it, because I know it's a big job. And anyone who served in the past, I have great admiration for the past presidents, because it is a full-time job, and we all have full-time jobs as it is. But I thought, if the board thought I was worthy, that I should give it a shot, see if I can put my stamp on our club. And I had no idea at the time that we'd be coming out of a pandemic, but I feel like my skills are suited to help us hopefully navigate as we get back to doing in-person meetings.
Well, interesting point. How do you see Muskegon reopening after the pandemic, and what do you think that'll do with our club?
Yeah. Well, when it comes to our club, we built a lot of great momentum under Mark and doing a whole year of Zoom meetings. So I was so happy that last week he got to do an in-person meeting. I thought that was it was nice to be able to do that, and to have the technology to be able to put that on. So, one of the things is I think it's about options and giving people choices. And as we transition in, just like we did last week, it's having the option to either meet in person or join in via Zoom. We want to preserve the things that we've come to appreciate about the virtual meeting, which is convenience. Sometimes we don't have an hour and a half or 2 hours to come down to the Delta or the Lake House and have a lunch. So if we can just jump on and spend an hour getting our Rotary fix, we want to keep that going. So, I think with your help, Mike and Kim's, and all the other folks, that we're going to be able to offer options to people that can be there in person, because there's nothing like the fellowship of sitting at a table of Rotarians and catching up, but also the convenience of doing the Zoom meeting. So that's going to be the way it is. that hybrid is the word, and we're going to do our best to keep that going and make it a really good experience for everybody involved.
Yeah, well, back in my day, bird was the word, you know. What do
That
you
makes me think
do?
of Mark Fisher.
What do you do when you're not doing Rotary or Revel?
Well, I have two great loves besides my family and community, and that is baseball and craft beer. And that's one thing that Josh Silvis and I were talking about when we did the Red Star event here at Revel. Is baseball is a big part of my life. I was raised on it. That's thanks to my dad, Len, and now my son Aaron is traveling around the country playing baseball, and he's coming into his last year of high school. So that's a big thing that we do. Also, just craft breweries. Tracy and I love to explore new breweries. Our breweries here in town, Unruly, Pigeon Hill, Rake and Fetch, are places that we love to visit. And so when we're not out watching our son's baseball games, we'll usually stop by and grab a beer and visit with folks. And our family vacations tend to revolve around MLB ballparks. So we've been to 17 of them so far. We've got number 18 and 19 on tap this summer in Washington, D.C. and Baltimore. And, our daughters, they come along for the ride. And Emma said to me, about 10 stadiums ago, she's like, I'm not sure I love the games, but at this point, we're going to go the distance and make it to all 30 of these. So that's been a great way for us to see the country in a lot of places that we wouldn't see otherwise. So you can expect to see us out and about taking in some MLB games this summer.
Would you tell us something about yourself that Rotarians might not know about you?
Well, I've got two things, and I'll stick with the baseball theme first. One time in a charity home run derby at Tiger Stadium, I hit 5 home runs. So that was one of the thrills of my life, being on the field at Tiger Stadium, which, for those of you that are baseball fans, it's not around anymore. The Tigers moved to Comerica Park about 20 years ago. So be on that field where Ty Cobb and Al Kaline and Kurt Gibson stood and hit some balls into the old upper deck orange seats there at Tiger Stadium was a thrill of a lifetime. So that was one thing. The other is that back when I was 10 years old, I was doing like a lot of 10-year-olds do. I was lamenting to my mom, since there was a Mother's Day and a Father's Day, why isn't there a Kids Day? And she said, well, why don't you do something about that? And I said, well, what can I do? I'm just a kid. She said, well, we'll write a letter to President Reagan, and we'll see where it goes. And I said, okay. So I wrote this letter. Months went by, didn't think anything of it. And eventually I got a letter back from one of his aides saying that, thanks for your interest. Unfortunately, holidays are usually, like this, are typically done on a state level. So, thank you very much. And I thought that was really neat. And I told my grandma, and she mentioned it to the Muskegon Chronicle, and they had a reporter come out that did a story. And lo and behold, Senator Arthur Holtz saw that, and he ended up pushing it up the food chain in Muskegon and all the way through the state of Michigan. And Kids Day is a holiday in the state of Michigan. So that was one thing that I did, and it's really fun. We celebrated it for a couple of years, and then that was kind of that. But a couple little bits of trivia.
Well, speaking of that, what are you hoping to accomplish over the next year as president of our club?
Yeah. Well, the first thing, we already talked about was transitioning back to in-person and hybrid meetings. And I think that's important to keep the continuity and momentum that we've built over the last year. The next is to grow our membership back to our pre-COVID levels, and a testament to our club that we are still at 224 members, which makes us one of the biggest clubs in the state of Michigan. And so that gives us, a bit of clout, and also, people look to us for our leadership, other clubs. So we want to get our membership back up to 245 members. That's where it was before COVID, and that's going to take a team effort between membership and retention and recruitment. And that's one thing our club is great at. So we'll be talking more about that. The next thing is really to kick off this Peace Builder initiative, and you'll be hearing more about this over the upcoming months. This is something that the DE&I committee brought in, and I think it's so important at this time to really, celebrate the accomplishments of citizens and what we can all do together. And then the last is to highlight our vocational avenue of service. Rotary has 5 avenues of service: club service, community, international, and youth. And that 5th is vocational, and that's what Rotary was started as over 100 years ago. And what that means is talking about and sharing stories about all our professions and getting to know the work that we do out in the community and how that can help us, serve Rotary better. So you'll see some tweaks in our weekly agenda where we'll be talking to members and having them share what they do during their day jobs.
Well, Jason, it has been a privilege to be a friend of yours and a partner for all of these years. I'm pleased to welcome you as our new president, and thank you very much for taking the time to share with us the thoughts you have today. And now we hand it back to you, Mr. President.